Well, hello there. This is Veronica Armstrong, life and leadership coach and founder of Leadership Life Support. And I want to thank you for joining me again today. So today I'm here to talk about how to jumpstart a career in leadership. But today's conversation is specifically targeted toward aspiring leaders. Aspiring leaders are those people who are not yet in leadership roles. They're in individual contributor positions, and those positions could be customer service agent, bank teller, a nurse, credit analyst, and anything that's on the front line where their only responsibility is managing themselves. So what are some of the challenges faced by aspiring leaders? But before I get into that, let me just say this. These are not generalizations. Not every aspiring leader encounters these challenges. Many do, but some don't. The reason I'm sharing these with you today is because if you are an aspiring leader, or if you know someone who's an aspiring leader, I think it's important that they know this information so that they can do everything in their power to avoid these challenges. Okay, so number one, they don't know what they don't know. Of course they don't, because honestly, they've never been in a leadership role before, so you wouldn't expect them to necessarily know everything. But the important fact is, if you don't know what you don't know, you need to be open to hearing and getting feedback from others so that you learn what you need to know. Number two, they think their promotability or their performance is based solely on what they do, meaning their outcome, the results that they generate. They don't necessarily realize that their performance is also based on how they go about doing it. There are softer skills involved there. Number three, they don't develop the competencies or the skills that they need in the role that they're in. Let's not even discuss that the role that they want down the road. So it's important to understand and know what those skills are that are required for that particular role that you're in, and make sure you're developing them. Number four, they don't lead from where they are, meaning they don't necessarily volunteer for opportunities or take on roles that will allow them to show others what they're made of. And number five, they don't necessarily disclose what it is that they want to do, what they aspire to do. And if no one knows what you aspire to do, then how would anyone expect anyone to develop you so that you can get to that next level? So here's the good stuff. What can aspiring leaders do to avoid the challenges we just discussed? Number one, first and foremost, you have got to get to know who you are. Meaning you have to understand your values, your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, your personality type. You can do that by working with a coach, understanding your values and your beliefs and limiting beliefs. You can also take a predictive index or personality assessment, a DISC or a Myers-Briggs. Whatever you do, the first thing you should do in trying to understand and determine what your career is going to be is to make sure you get to know who you are. Once you understand who you are and you understand the type of role or the career that you want, then make sure you spend time understanding the skills required for the role that you're looking at. Understanding the skills and understanding where you are and your strengths and weaknesses will allow you to identify any gaps that may exist. Because if there are gaps between the skills that are required for the role versus the skills and abilities that you have to address those skills, and they have to be developed if you're going to see any kind of success. And in order to see success, what you'll need to do next is to create an action plan. And that action plan should contain not only your strengths, because those things that you do well, you want to continue doing them well, but also those gaps. You put those gaps in that action plan, and then you take those gaps and you identify specific activities that you can engage in that will help you develop those gaps. Next, you want to make sure that your leader knows and understands what you'd like to do with your career, where you'd like to go, because you need to get them to be your advocate. You need to get them to work with you. You also need to get feedback from your leaders to make sure that you understand whether or not you're making progress. And finally, you absolutely, hands down, without a doubt, must lead from where you are. If you are fearful, let go of the fears, because the fears are going to hold you back from being successful. Take the opportunity to volunteer for roles or project or anything that will give you an opportunity to stretch those skills that you're trying to develop and show others what you're made of. So let's talk about why all of this information is important. If there's nothing else you listen to in this video, I need you to listen to this. If you're reading the blog, I need you to read this. This is important, and this is what trips people up when they're trying to become a leader, especially aspiring leaders. First and foremost, Your performance is being evaluated through your encounters with others, your behavior, and the results you produce every single day. Whether you recognize it or not, it's being evaluated. Number two, in good companies that have succession plans in place, they are constantly evaluating their talent. The question is, are you a part of that discussion? If you are a part of that discussion, that means you are what we call a HIPO, or a high potential employee. And when we talk about HIPOs, what we ask ourselves is this person ready now? Which means they're ready immediately for that next leadership opportunity that's available. Are they ready later, which is about or ready soon, 6 to 9 months? Or are they ready later, maybe more than 9 months? The question is, are you a part of that discussion? Because if you're not a part of that discussion, you're not a HIPO. And if you're not a HIPO, yet you want to be in a leadership role, there's a problem. And the problem is that you haven't controlled the narrative. And that means that you have put yourself in a position where you're not even a part of what we call our bench strength. Now, if you do all of the things that we talked about previously, that means you are taking the opportunity to control the narrative by disclosing to your manager what it is you aspire to be or what you want, by taking the necessary steps to develop your competencies and skills, by taking on opportunities to lead from where you are. Doing all of those things and doing them well means you're controlling the narrative. And put differently, that means when you control the narrative, you get somebody in that room who can advocate for you. If you don't have someone advocating for you in these meetings, then you're not considered a part of the bench strength. This is extremely important. These meetings happen. So what I'm asking you to do is to think about everything I just shared with you and think about whether or not controlling the narrative matters. If controlling the narrative matters, then you are going to be successful at navigating at least your first promotion into leadership, because you will have taken control of the conversation without having to be in the room. So let's recap what we've talked about today. So first and foremost, you don't know what you don't know. So it's important that you're open to feedback and you're open to learning more about what you need to do in order to be successful. Number two, you need to understand the skills and the competencies required in the role that you're looking at, if it's a leadership role, versus where you are today. Because what you want to do is, number three, make sure that you create an action plan so that you can identify specific activities that will assist you in developing those skills. Number four, you need to ask your leader for feedback. Make sure you ask your leader for feedback, actionable feedback, because it's important for you to know and understand whether or not you're making progress with the activities you've identified in your action plan. Number five, lead from where you are. Please make sure that you are leading from where you are, because if you're not leading from where you are, you're not taking the opportunity to show people what you're made of, and you're not taking the opportunity to develop your skills through experience. And lastly, make sure that you are very vocal with your leader and others about what you want to do. It's important for people to know what you aspire to be and what you aspire to do, because if you don't let anyone know, then how do you expect for them to advocate for you at the table? So there you go. There you have it. That's it. If you haven't taken the opportunity, I have created a guide that will help you in this process. If you go below this post, if you're on my website, go below this post. If you're on YouTube, there's a link below this video. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, go to my website and download the guide that's called How to Become a Great Leader. That guide has a lot of good information for you in terms of skills and competencies and things that you should focus on developing. And there's also a worksheet that will help you start to kind of put pen to paper and identify some of the things that you need to focus on in order to move forward. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next week.